Well, welcome, parents. I'm glad you came tonight. We're going to share a lot of good information with you. And I just wanted a chance to talk to you for the first couple minutes, just to really acknowledge the fact that, we've been through a lot as a community. I mean, not just with the wildfires, but on top of that, with, the isolation of a global pandemic and all of that. And so I hope tonight you're here because you want to learn more about resources to help your child, and also these resources can also be, helpful to you as adults as well. The wildfires were a very traumatic event, and we're just coming out of that, and so a lot of times trauma doesn't even manifest itself until well after an event takes place. So I'm glad you're here tonight. If you have any questions at all, make sure that you direct those to me. I'd be happy to forward them on to the right people. And we have our service providers here as well from the Willamette ESD and Trillium and Marion County, and they'll give you their contact information as well. So welcome. I hope you find this evening meaningful and you walk away with some good information to help. Let me go ahead and turn it over to you, Jen.
Good evening. Actually, I think I'm going to have our panel briefly introduce
themselves. Okay.
Yeah, so Cassie, if you would like to start.
Sure. My name is Cassie Stafford. I am the Senior Manager of Mental Health and Behavior with Willamette ESD, and I'm really pleased to be here this evening with you all. I'll hand it to Holly.
I'm Holly Dalton with the Willamette ESD, and I'm the Senior Manager of Social Emotional Learning, and I am very pleased to be here as well, and I will turn it over to Rodney.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rodney Dean, and I work as a family support advocate with Willamette ESD, and have worked in the Silver Falls School District for many years. So I'm happy to be here tonight. I also work on the crisis response team as a team lead, and again, happy to help. I'll pass it to, who am I passing to? Paige. Hi, Paige. There you are.
Hi, I'm Paige Gorman, and I'm with Trillium Family Services, and I'm a clinical supervisor there, and I manage the outpatient school-based therapist team in Marion County. And I'll turn it over to Jose.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Arredondo, and I'm with Trillium. I work as a child and family therapist. Welcome, everyone, and I hope this is helpful. And I'm going to turn it over to Joseph.
Hi guys, my name is Joseph Endres. I'm a youth and family, or a crisis therapist for youth and family crisis services with Marion County. I'm very grateful to be here, and I'm learning stuff too. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. And we are going to get started. Go ahead, Holly.
So once again, we just want to thank you very much for being here with us this evening. We know that this has been an extremely challenging time for you, your family, and your community. And we're grateful to be here today and want you to know that we're here to help provide you support, a listening ear, or offer some resources that may assist you and your children. We'll also provide an opportunity for you to ask questions. And we just want to thank you again for being here. So the guidelines for this evening, you know already that the meeting is recorded, and we will post this at a later time. Everyone will remain muted, and interaction will be encouraged at different times. So listen for that in order to get the most out of our time together. Both the chat and the Q&A will be guided by us, the panelists. So listen for instructions, when to engage there. And if we don't address your comment or question during the meeting, we will follow up as quickly as possible. And our last is to just give people grace. We all are in different places at this time, and so accepting of where everybody might be. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about our emotions. So emotions impact our lives, including relationships, well-being, decision-making, and how we process things. And since March, our worlds have been turned upside down, and the fires have caused an enormous amount of stress in your lives and the lives of your children. And our emotions are immediate responses to what is happening around us. And these responses are something real or something imagined, and they are signals that guide our behavior. and our responses. So what we're going to do now is we're going to think about how we're feeling at this present moment. And this is totally anonymous. So you don't need to worry that your name will be attached to whatever emotion you're feeling at this time. I'm going to paste a link. It reverted back in the chat. If you're just patient with me 1 second. Hopefully everybody will see the link in the chat right now. And you're going to click on that link, and then wherever you're feeling right now, you're going to hover over that feeling word and click on that feeling. So the top is high energy, the top 2 quadrants, and the bottom 2 squares, the blue and the green, are lower energy. So if everybody could take a moment and plot where they are feeling right now, and I will show us in a moment how everybody is feeling. And the reason why we're doing this is because when we name our emotions, it helps us talk about those emotions. So this is something that you don't need this, what we call the mood meter, to talk about emotions with your children. You could just ask them the way that they are feeling. And it might be helpful to give them some words. I know that I have a middle schooler who, when I ask him how he is feeling, he often says, he gives me the grunt. So if I offer him choices, it might be better. So I see some people are posting.
Are you able to share your screen, Holly?
I'm going to do that right now. We could see that we are in these 3 quadrants. So we have someone who's feeling determined and grateful and hopeful, all wonderful words. It's supported. Someone's feeling confused, tired. That's where I am. It's been a long day. Vulnerable and challenged, disheartened, exhausted, disengaged, and disheartened. So you can see that we're all feeling a variety of emotions, and whatever we're feeling is okay. And we want you to know that those feelings are valid. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Cassie.
Fantastic. And it also gives us a moment to reflect on if we want to stay in that emotion or not. So just knowing that, kind of if you're down in that blue zone or blue area of the box, just thinking about, and hopefully we'll give you some tips to help you along with your child in this presentation. So I'm going to pass it on to Rodney, who's going to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, we were just reflecting about what an interesting year it's been with COVID and distance learning, and now with the fires, we thought it was safe to assume that it's been a bumpy ride. And as on an airplane, the oxygen masks can be deployed when it's bumpy, and again, it's probably safe to say the masks have come down. And as you are concerned about your kids, and of course you want to help the people next to you, the kids next to you, it's important for us to remember to put that oxygen mask on ourselves first, so that we'll be in a better spot to help those that are next to us. We're also thinking about the fact that you're here and that you are survivors, and that you've come this far in the flight, and you, whether consciously or unconsciously, have already been doing things to take care of yourself, to be at a place where, again, where you can take care of your kids and loved ones next to you. So what we would like to do is invite you to put in the chat, and in this case, your name would be associated with whatever you decide to put in there. So be mindful of that. But we'd like for you to just think about and type in a few things that you've been doing to take care of yourself and to help yourself out during these very bumpy times. The idea also is for, again, the chat will be available to others. You can borrow some ideas from your neighbors if you'd like, and then, of course, to share some ideas as well. So we'll give you a few minutes or a few moments to do that. And
Great.
we'll go ahead and keep going, but we'll go ahead and feel free to enter those things in there as we move along.
Absolutely. And I just want to follow up on what Rodney said in terms of, just knowing that if you can infuse a little bit of self-care for yourself, that's going to go a long way in your relationship with your child and their ability to take care of themselves as well. So I wanted to just provide some information about the types of stress. Sometimes when we name what's going on, there's a little bit of relief for us to then be able to acknowledge, okay, we are handling a lot right now. So typical types of stress are, you have a test coming up or something big at work that you're responsible for, and you have some anxiety around that, and that's pretty normal, right? It helps us prepare and be better. So that kind of stress is pretty reasonable. We have the next level of stress in that yellow area, which would be temporary stress. It's something in our environment that maybe we're in the car and there's a traffic jam and we're stressed out about getting to work on time, those kinds of things. Those times of temporary stress, those we really usually rely on supportive relationships, and those are helpful to us to manage that stress. But then when we go down to that red area, that means there's a lot of stress that is being built up, right? So you've got pandemic, you've got now wildfires, you got all of these things that really take a toll on us and our bodies and our hearts and our minds. And so we really rely on some protective relationships to help us through those moments. So today we're hoping to point you in the direction of making connection, helping your children make connection, and just remembering that it's okay to be where you're at. It's okay to model the feelings that you're having for your children. It's okay to ask for help or reach out if you're noticing or feeling that something's not right. So those are sort of the typical types of stress, and we're all under this stress. But there's a lot to think about. So some of the things that you can do at home for your family and your children is keep a routine, be predictable, allow for flexibility. As your kids go into distance learning next week, there's going to be a lot of challenges and there's going to be a steep learning curve for everybody. So just knowing that your kids are doing the best they can, and the teachers and the district is doing the best that they can. Providing opportunities for your children to have some choice. There's been a lot of things out of our control. We've been isolated in many different ways. So providing ways that you can give them some empowerment, even if it's just very simple. Like with my 7-year-old, it's something like, you get to choose whether we have hamburgers or hot dogs for dinner. Something like that gives them some opportunity to feel like they're in control of something. So I'm going to pass this to Rodney, and just to give you some idea, we're going to talk a little bit about some things that we think will be helpful, and then we will have a question and answer session after some of these slides.
Yeah, we've received some kind of questions ahead of time about some concerns that parents might have, and what they're seeing. Is that normal? Is it to be expected? So we put a list of things together that if you are seeing some sleep problems at this time, again, that would be understandable and expected. General fearfulness. Earlier we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we are talking about the base needs of food, clothing, shelter, safety. Those things have been impacted. So it makes sense there's some general fearfulness happening right now. Confusion, of course, about the danger being over, or kind of what happened, and again, to be expected. Number 4, reaction to reminders, so things that might remind them of the traumas, the stressors, even though we might not be talking about something right now, just something pops up out of the blue that can trigger them or remind them. And so that can be, again, expect that. Number 5, retelling or playing out the event over and over, especially with younger children. As we look at their themes in play, it's to be expected that they're playing out some of the things that they've been dealing with, or that the stressors that are around them. Number 6, concern about safety for themselves and others, understandable. We were talking about this earlier today too, and something that we found helpful and other parents have found helpful is sometimes to look at a map, and we have a map available of the fires, where they're at, and kind of where you can find your own location on that map at the WESD website. There's other websites as well, but sometimes looking at a map can be helpful to kind of reduce some of those fears, to see where they're at, where the fire's at, especially if there's still smoke around, which right now there's just rain around, thank goodness. But that might be of concern that they think there's still smoke and they're still in active danger. Somatic complaints, so headaches, stomach aches, body aches, that again could be expected, that we could see in our kids. And then of course some acting out behaviors, sometimes being restless, being extra rambunctious, or acting in. Oftentimes, especially with a lot of girls, they might act in, be extra quiet, fearful, concerned, withdrawn, isolate, for both boys and girls, but oftentimes we see that. So wanted to have a heads up on some of those behaviors you might see as natural responses. And then I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit, but when you see some of these things, you want to just jump right in, right, and support our kids. So I mentioned the map a little bit early there, so I apologize about that. But when do I need to worry as a parent? So, as parents, you worry all the time. That's your job, so that's to be expected. But a little guidance here might be if your child is having significant problems in 2 out of the 3 areas of, at home they're struggling, at school, or out in the community. 2 or more of those areas might be an indicator to reach out, and we'll talk about reaching out here in a moment. But number 2, if you also notice that your child's engaging in risky behaviors, or there's some language around maybe wishing I wasn't here, wishing I were dead, or outright, talking about wanting to, take their own life, or they're doing some self-harm, or just other things that, kind of rise to that next level of concern. Again, we want to encourage you to reach out at that point. Number 3, if their level of distress repeatedly stops you or your family from engaging in typical activities. Again, we can expect a little bit of change there, but if it's really stopping them from getting up, out, and doing those things, and you're having a hard time encouraging them to do those things, again, that might be an indicator to reach out. Number 4, if your child experiences significant problems that last more than 6 months. So again, it's to be expected for a few weeks. I said, well, yes, 6 months for sure, but we can get help before then if there's concerns that are going on beyond a few weeks as well. I mentioned the WESD website earlier, and again, we have all sorts of wonderful resources there, from maps to resources for parents, and specifically around wildfires and how to support your kids around wildfires. There's activities. There's a wealth of information there. We've gotten great feedback from people that have taken the chance, gone to the website, and found something helpful. I promise you, it's a treasure trove of great resources for kids of all ages and parents and educators. Just definitely check that out when you get a chance.
Just want to add to that, on this screen you can see an arrow. There's an area right at the very top where you click resources for parents, and it brings you right to the section that's got information pertinent to parents. And also most of those resources, if not all, are in Spanish as well. So I'm going to pass this to Jen Hannon.
The ways that we can support you at school. First, we would encourage you to use the resources that we've sent out as a district and the resources that are being shared here tonight. But always, if you need help navigating those resources, or your concern is an immediate concern, or you just need to talk it through with someone, we encourage you to reach out to a staff member at your school or your school counselor. Our staff will either navigate this with you or they will connect you with additional support. Our counselors stand ready to do that, and our staff members will know how to point you in the right direction to speak with a counselor or one of our outside resources.
Thank you. And now we're going to pass it to Trillium. Go ahead, Paige.
Yeah, so I would love to tell you guys a little bit about us. We've been working with Silverton for a few years now in a few of the schools, and it's been really great. And with telehealth, we're actually able to serve more kids across the community, which we're really excited about. And while there are a lot of supports that we will be talking about that are more of that immediate crisis response, like we've been in the middle of a pandemic, we are just coming out of these wildfires. We're working on meeting the basic needs. But if you notice that your kid is struggling a lot more and for a little bit longer, for weeks and weeks, or if, like, you know, trusting your instincts, if you notice that they're just over the course of time struggling and really need a higher level of support than maybe the 1 or 2 check-ins or, you know, things like that, then that's where we can come in and we can provide that actual more longer term mental health counseling and support. And so if that is something that you feel like your child might benefit from and something that they might need, you can absolutely talk to the school counselor for the school that your child goes to, and they can help navigate that referral process, or you can reach out via the information that's on this slide right here. We mostly can only serve OHP students, but not always. So we will try to meet the needs however we can, and you can reach out if you have any questions also. And then I will turn it over to Jose because he will be our main contact therapist in Silverton.
Right, thank you, Paige. So I think you pretty much, summed everything up. But I do want to, I see that there's some parents that were asking some questions in Spanish. So I am bilingual, and, I can work with Latino families. So is it okay if I say it in Spanish?
Absolutely.
Mi nombre es José y le estaba diciendo que yo hablo español y puedo trabajar con familias que hablan español. Si a ustedes tienen algunas preguntas, el número está en pantalla. Puede ser alguna pregunta general, cómo referir a estudiantes que están pasando por problemas acerca de las cosas que están pasando ahorita. Nos puede contactar por email o por el teléfono en pantalla. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, and now we have Joseph.
Hello, I'm Joseph again. Thank you. Yes, I'm a crisis counselor with Marion County. And basically, how I want to present Marion County as being a support to the Silverton community and every community in Marion County is the mental health field can be very difficult to navigate. And so first of all, you can always call us, Youth and Family Crisis Services, at the Psychiatric Crisis Center. That's where we're housed right now. And I can give out that number. But if you have any questions regarding your youth and mental health, you can always call us. There's no bad question. So that's just first off the top. It could be about your child's mental health. It could be how to navigate the system. It could be about insurance. It could be about anything. It's a really difficult system, and system on system. So there's no bad questions. If you have any questions about your child and mental health, call the Psychiatric Crisis Center and ask for Youth and Family Crisis Services, and we can answer your questions or find someone who can answer those questions. So that's first off. Second of all, Youth and Family Crisis Services provides the shorter term mental health support. So You can access us really one of two ways primarily. One of them is calling us, again, at the Psychiatric Crisis Center, and requesting that we meet you out in the community if you're comfortable with that. You could, we'll figure out a good place that works, you know, to maintain safety. It could be in your home, it could be outside your home, it could be at a park, it could be anywhere in the community. We just have to make sure it's safe, and we'll work out those details. Or you can always bring your child in to the Psychiatric Crisis Center. And what that looks like in either case is that your child will be provided an assessment. We'll be doing some safety planning and then referrals if necessary. So basically, the way I like to look at it is we're kind of a gateway. We provide stabilization support in the moment, and then we escort you, we give a warm handoff to people, to the resources that are after or what you guys would need beyond us. So those are the two primary things that we provide. And again, if you have any questions, please call us at the Psychiatric Crisis Center. Thank you.
And that number should be on the screen right now. It's on the right-hand side at the bottom. Is that number correct?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Joseph. So at this time, we're shifting gears into the Q&A section. So please use the Q&A feature to share any questions, concerns, needs, or worries that you have. You can do it in English or in Spanish. Jose, if you wouldn't mind, and Rodney, if you wouldn't mind kind of taking a look at that to make sure we're covering that, that would be great. But I also know we do have our moderator who's taking a look at that. So go ahead and do that now. While we're kind of waiting for some of those, and that's okay. There's a lot of information to be processing right now. And you're probably juggling a million things if you're a parent with children in the background and those kinds of things. So we totally understand. I just want to point out that on the WESD website, in the parent resources, there are specific information based on your child's age. So preschool, school age, adolescent, and then also tips for adults. And so it's a very useful section. So.
We do have a question in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, and then something in the QA. What can I do to make sure my kids don't have a lifelong trauma or anxiety related to the wildfire evacuations? Very good question.
A great question. Is there anyone on the panel who would like to start answering that question? I can start off, and if anyone wants to chime in. So, you know, this is a tough question because, you know, when we experience something that's big like this, that has an effect, it can have an effect on us for a good part of our life. But what I can say is that the more that we talk about the situation and provide an open space for children to express what they're feeling without any judgment, without any, shame or anything about what they're feeling, the better chances they have to kind of take that information and be able to grow from it versus taking that information and remain anxious. And so that's my first part of the answer to that question. Do we have other people who want to add in?
Yeah, I think I would like to add to that, like after providing a space for a child to be able to process what they've gone through and be able to identify it and name it. It might not eliminate all of the anxiety, but it gives them the tools to be able to process it if it comes in later. In fact, like with all of this that happened, there was somebody that I knew who had a very, even though she wasn't within the range of the fire, she was actually very safe. She had a very definite trauma response to it. And after some processing and taking some time to sit with that, she realized this is because I actually did go through this as a child, but because she had had the space to process that and to do that safely and develop some skills as an adult, didn't keep the anxiety or trauma totally away, but it gave her the ability to be able to kind of acknowledge it and move through it in a healthy way so that she could continue. So that's really a big part of the goal.
Mhm. Yeah, and I would add to that, you know, allowing your children to see that you have feelings about it in a way that helps them still feel secure, because they want to know that they're taken care of and they're okay. But you're also human. And so being able to say, hey, you know what, I'm not feeling great today. I'm going to go take a walk outside because that helps me get to a better space, or I'm going to listen to some uplifting music. Do you want to do that with me? That is modeling for your children that, you know, we can use some strategies that are really simple to get us, you know, in a place where we can kind of like breathe a little bit more freely.
If I could just comment here too, both things that everything that both folks said can also be found in one of those handouts on the WESD website. Down below, there's that link about specific to wildfires and what you can do as a parent to help your child now, specifically related to that. And a lot of things that were just mentioned are there, and there's some additional things too that you can find and do as a parent. So I just want to refer you to that.
And I would just add that sometimes children, I'm thinking of my own children, don't outwardly express the way that they're feeling, and that might manifest itself in a different way. For instance, mine didn't want to go outside because he felt, or open the windows because he felt smoke was going to come in. So reassuring them that it's okay now, I think that constant reassurance is that we need. That's a strategy to use as well.
And that,
Go ahead.
I was going to say that goes back to kind of what Rodney mentioned about the map, taking a look at the map and saying, you know, is the fire near us or not near us? Taking a look at those pieces. Also, the air quality, taking a look at the air quality of people who have asthma and have breathing problems. It was scary to be around this dangerous, hazardous air. So, you know, looking at those concrete, that information that they can gather in and look at this meter, and it's good. It's got the green on it, can give them that, oh, okay, I can go outside, I can open the window, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really appreciate the question. And I think it can also be applied to traumas in general. And so I just want to maybe just add a little piece around trauma, and that is trauma is stored in a certain part of the brain, and it's kind of sometimes gets stuck there and can have some of those long-lasting effects that I'm assuming that parent is concerned about. And so providing an opportunity for that information to be processed is the key. And as everything that was mentioned previously, you know, providing a safe place, safe person, modeling that it's okay to talk about this and give them permission. Those things are all fantastic. And at the same time, we also don't want to force the child if they're not ready to talk about those things, but we definitely want to be offering opportunities for them to talk about, act out, play, whatever it is, and however the different forms that they can process that to help dislodge that trauma that is in that part of that brain.
So I just, I pulled up the Q&A, and there's a really great question that I want to shift gears to. My child hasn't shown any signs of being scared or worried. Is this abnormal? I'm worried she's out of touch with reality. We don't watch the news, and we have tried to make our home feel normal. That's okay. It's absolutely okay. There's nothing abnormal about your child if they're not showing signs. Now, they could be sort of internalizing some of that. So I would do, a verbal check-in, but people respond in different ways. And so it's all okay. I see some heads nodding on the panel. So please jump in, others.
Well, I'll go ahead again. Sorry. I was just with a 7-year-old, helping him to process the loss of his dog, and also a neighbor boy that passed, that died recently. And in talking with him, we're able to talk about some serious things. And he's able to go there a little bit, and the next thing you know, he's off ready to go play basketball and run around and be his self. And his parents are asking, is that normal? Because this is like serious stuff. And it's like, yeah. So depending on the age and the development, it's common to see like no effects at all, or one moment having some impact and some serious moments, and then back to kind of playing as if nothing happened. So I guess the other thing I would just question too around that is if you're noticing any behaviors that are different for that child, because they may be processing in different ways. Again, back to somatic complaints of any headaches or body aches or stomach aches or anything there. We want to be mindful that they may be showing no signs that we're aware of, but they might be showing signs in other ways. So I'd just refer you back to some of the things we talked about on the earlier slide as well.
So in addition to that, what Rodney said, I had a similar situation with the 8-year-old. The parent was worried that they went through this trauma. The parent was worried that, this would affect the kid. And, what we ended up doing is we asked the child to write a narrative of how she interpreted the event. And we found out that they were two different things. The parent was like worried, but the child, like, she kind of interpret things differently. So she wasn't as affected as the parent. So I could kind of see, like sometimes that tends to happen. So.
And when parents do a really great job of presenting a calm demeanor and really are able to do that, that also could be, just information for you that you're doing a great job keeping your child feel safe and connected and supported. So, so I would say that could be another piece of it too. So there was another question that says, are students going over some information like this so they can help support each other? That's a good question. And before I turn it over to the district to answer that a little bit, I will say that, earlier today, many of us on the panel met with the staff to be able to help support them in knowing how to provide support to the students as they come back. And so we're available for, consultation with the school district in terms of helping support some of this information.
So I will just add that in addition to our staff meeting with this team this morning to talk through how we are going to support students when they come back, they were given permission to use some of that live time, especially that first week or two that we're back, to allow kids some time and space to process in a safe place in a guided way. And they were given some instruction on which points to stop kids at, how far to let them go, and then red flags to look for where kids might need to process individually. Additionally, we'll be doing needs assessments for our students when they come back, and our counselors will screen those, and we'll for sure follow up with any of you parents if they have any concerns.
I'd also like to acknowledge that someone put in the chat that there's definitely a lot of stress coming back from the evacuation and trying to get everyone ready for school. and being thankful for the reminders of taking care of ourselves and extending grace. I just think that, thank you for bringing that out, because again, as we move into this experience, maybe some of us have experienced wildfires. We've all never experienced wildfires with a pandemic. So, this is new territory in many ways. And so as a community, it's amazing what your community has already done to come together, to support each other during this challenging time. And, just remembering that this is a bit of a marathon. This is something that we're going to be working through as a community for a period of time, and allowing yourself some grace in that process is really important. We all can only do the best that we can, and that'll be different depending on the stressors that are going on in our life. So always do your best, no more, no less. I like to keep that in my mind. Any of the panelists, while we're kind of waiting to see if there's other questions or comments, any of the panelists have anything that has come up for them as we're listening to the questions that they would like to share?
While we are waiting to see if there are any additional questions, I have posted we like to receive feedback at the WESD, so to know how we can improve or best serve your needs. There's a short survey, if you don't mind going to this link and then answering the questions as well. That would be fabulous.
I think that I would like to just, to piggyback off of the idea that this is a marathon and not a sprint. I mean, we do have a very traumatic event on top of a long going traumatic event. And it's not uncommon with any kids or adults who are in therapy or not in therapy to make progress and then have regression, and make progress and hit a speed bump, and different things. Like, some things might trigger a student one day and won't trigger them the next day, but it will trigger them the next week. So and to go along with the grace, like, it'll be up and down, it'll be inconsistent, it'll be all sorts of things. There is no definite timeline for any of it, but having that connection and just all getting through it together is the goal. But just keeping all of that in mind, and again, to go back to having the grace with yourselves, with your kids, with the teachers, with the community.
Was there someone who raised their hand? Drew, can you help us with that?
Yeah, it's we can allow them to talk. That would be a good solution here.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just by accident that somebody clicks. Oh. Michelle, if you'd like to go ahead and enable your microphone and speak, you could do that now, or yeah, Cassie, I'm going to assume it was an accident, probably.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
I don't know if some of the parents have kids who are worried about other friends that they may have, and if they've been in contact, or I know that the internet has been down in some areas. So if that is the case, one of the things that we can do as parents is to, reassure them that it's highly likely that they are with someone like your child is with you, and you're caring for them, and you're planning for their safety, and they're being cared for, and that their friend also is being cared for and looked out by a caring, attending adult. So I wanted to throw that out there. And also, I understand there's been a lot of things happening in the community, maybe out towards Scotts Mills, where folks are actually going out there to help firsthand. And I think that's a great thing. I know some of the kids might be too young for that, but talking about what's happening in the community, about what we are doing as a community to take care of ourselves, our community, our loved ones, our colleagues, our friends, is important. And then looking for opportunities. I think, Cassie mentioned earlier about providing, empowering children to make to have choices. So looking for opportunities for the older kids maybe to go out and help, and then maybe for the younger kids to do things around the house, helping with chores, helping mom, dad, or older siblings so that they can go out. But just, again, looking for ways to find something to do, and it's as a piece of empowerment, and kind of takes away the things are happening to me aspect, and just being victim and attacked and bombarded constantly, and turning that around to, hey, there's some things that I can do to be helpful, or to take care of myself. So I wanted to offer those kinds of things as well.
Absolutely. So as the time is getting later, we're going to draw to a close. So I'm going to pass it off to your awesome superintendent.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming, and make sure that you reach out to us if there's something we can do. We'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction, or even answer your question directly. Jen Hannon is the Director of Therapeutic Education for Silver Falls School District, and she handles all manner of services having to do with mental health and social and emotional well-being. So thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. Be well, get some rest.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, I had one question.
That's what I was trying to get at. I wasn't trying to interrupt, but
Sorry.
Just saw that.
Yeah,
didn't
it
want
came in
to-
right as we swapped over. I don't know if we want to take this person's email, if you want to address it now, or we can address via email. We will be posting the entire video, so it would certainly be possible, if you want to address it now, for us to kind of cut it into the larger portion as I volunteer somebody who isn't me to do that.
Absolutely. So the question is, how do we keep our community strong? There has been some growth in fear and ownership with threats of looting and arson. I want us to feel safe here. That's a great question. Is there anyone who would like to start with that? I mean, I would say starting with yourself. So focusing on what you can do, your part, and modeling that for your fellow community members, encouraging them to get connected to different places. We can control ourselves. We can't control other people and their decisions. And so, that's my first instinct in answering that question. Go ahead, Rodney.
Well, I was just thinking of the story I told earlier about the fence, so I can maybe share that for this parent as well. So building a fence a long time ago, we had the posts put in the ground, but didn't have the rails up yet. And it took a while to get them up. But finally, once I got them all up and was calling it a day and was tucking our 7-year-old in at the time for bed, he was saying, "Dad, that fence is going to keep the bad guys out." And it's like, no, that fence won't. But I'm also not done. So we're going to put the slats up and make it more difficult. But then I felt prompted to share with him that, even then, it's, some bad guys are bad guys, and they're going to do what bad guys are going to do. But we're going to make it as difficult as we can for those bad guys to do those things. So we're going to build the fence. We're going to build it high. And there's other things in addition to the fence that we can do, which ties back to Cassie's statement about we want to focus on the things that we can control, and that we have a plan and things that we're going to be doing, and the various things we're going to be doing to try to stay safe, and have a plan for if those things are happening out there, we have a plan of what we're going to do next. So that's kind of the story that came to mind in looking at that question there. Hope that helps.
And I noticed Jose is sort of helping to navigate some information on the chat. Is there anything we can help out with there, Jose?
I was just trying to give a short summary because someone had a question about, what kind of resources or what this meeting was about. And I just kind of gave them a little summary or recap of what we talked about.
Thank you,
Fantastic.
Jose.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, again, we appreciate everyone. Those of you who've stayed on, the attendees, thank you so much for taking that extra time with us. And we hope that you have a restful evening.